Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Redeem Her Time podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about how to audit your time and your values to reveal where your time and energy is actually going versus where you say it's going, right? How many of us say this is what matters, but we all know there are two places to go to see if that really matches up: your bank account and your calendar. So we're going to go there today, but it's going to be in a good way because we want to be living lives aligned with what does matter, what God has called us to. So today I have Robin with me. Robin, I'm so excited for you to be here on the Redeemer Time podcast. Introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you. First, I want to hear, what are you juggling in this season of life?
This season is probably the calmest season that I've had because I'm an empty nester, and I have four kids. So I have my husband Shannon. We have four kids. Two are off the payroll. They are launched out of college, married, living their lives, and then I have two that are still in college. So I say they're still on the payroll. But from a busyness and a time perspective, in the last 29 years, I have never had so much free time. And that's a shift. I mean, that is a challenge in and of itself. You you think, if I just had more time, and then you find yourself, and I kind of wound down. So, going from four kids to three kids to two kids to one kid, that even when I went from four to two at home, I saw a drastic change in just activity. And I actually would remember being like, I'm kind of bored. What's
What do I
going
do with
on?
all my time?
What do I do with all this time? And then when I went from two to one and then one to zero, it's just really, I have probably told my husband more times now than in the last 10 years, I've got to get some hobbies because,
Mm-hmm.
honestly, a working mom, I've been in corporate America for 32 years. I've had a successful career in corporate, being a mom with four kids. I really never had hobby time. I prioritized my family. Work and family, and so girlfriends and hobbies were the bottom, and honestly taking care of myself were
Right.
at the bottom of the list. And so I really am now sitting here in this season saying, okay, I need to find a pattern. I need to find some way to incorporate new patterns into this free time because I hate wasting time.
Right.
I mean, I hate wasting time. I hate wasting money and I hate wasting time.
Mhm.
And so anyway, yeah, I find myself right now in a season with more time than I'm accustomed to, quite frankly.
And what's so interesting is I think as a younger mom, we probably all thought this was going to be the magic bullet, right? Once I get to this point, then everything was going to change about how I feel about my time. And what you're finding, is that, yes, your time may not be filled with as much kid stuff, but there is still this tension around how our time feels and what we're doing with it. And I agree with you. Sometimes when life is busier, it's easier to be more intentional with those pockets of time
Yes.
because you have to be. And then once you get to the point in life where it's like, I don't have to be in a pickup line at, 2:45 p.m. I
Yes.
don't have to get somebody out the door by,
Out the door.
6:30 or whatever. All of a sudden now, I think what you're experiencing is, yeah, how do I create some healthy rhythms and some healthy boundaries around my time so it doesn't just all go to who
Yeah.
knows where. So it's kind of finding that happy middle and based on the season you're in. And that's what I love is that you're talking about what does it look like in this season now that I have time.
I
And
wish I wish that seasons, I didn't hear the phrase seasons until I was probably in my 40s, honestly. It seems like something, I don't know if the church kind of started, I don't know. I don't know. You know how churches kind of go through
right.
themes and there's messages that go around. I don't know if I just wasn't aware or if churches kind of started really talking about seasons, but that is not a concept that I grew up
Mm,
understanding.
yeah.
And it isn't a concept that in my 20s and 30s that I understood. I really did not hear that phrase and what it meant until my 40s. And I really wish I would have heard that phrase um, of course I knew seasons, right?
Right. Seasons of the
Winter,
year.
spring,
Sure.
yeah, but I not in framing what you're going through, right?
Right.
If you frame, I'm going through this hard thing, but this is just a season. I
Mm,
just think if I would have had that frame of reference,
sure.
I maybe could have stuck it out to the next season,
Yeah.
right?
Like this
Or
won't last forever. Like
it's
winter
not
when
going to
we're at
last.
this.
Yeah,
Waiting
exactly.
for
So
spring.
I hope some women listening, if you are not thinking of your life in terms of seasons, I really hope to
Yes.
encourage you to please add that into your framework. Um, because I think you can do anything for a season.
It's so true. So true. And it gives some perspective, right? And helps us to,
Yes.
yeah, know this
Yes,
isn't forever, that the
that's
seasons
right.
will change. So, yeah, I love that. Well, you've also mentioned as you talked, you had a season of working in corporate, and now you're really passionate, as I hear, about teaching women to audit their lives and detach from performance. I think that's another thing we struggle
Oh,
with, whether it's as a mom or a business owner or someone who's been in a position, and then just living from our faith. Like, so take us just real quick on the journey of like how God brought you to what you're doing now. What is the work you're doing in helping women
yeah.
around these things?
I haven't in corporate. I'm still in corporate. I've been in corporate 32 years, and I say corporate America. My husband is a retired military Army infantry guy, and when he went into the military, the Army told him he was the perfect soldier because he did not come from a close-knit family.
Mm,
And um, when I think about corporate America, I say corporate America is the perfect place for broken little girls to get a lot of validation and approval and acceptance. And the more you perform, the
yeah,
better you
yeah.
get rewarded. And so I was a broken little girl that didn't know it. I didn't know how broken I really was, but I was a broken little girl that just grew up to be a broken woman. And I found my worth, my identity.
Mm,
I found everything in my job.
yeah.
Because I was really good at that. If you put me in a performance mode, I was a performer.
Mm,
And it really goes back to my childhood. And I really didn't start exploring this until I started writing my book a couple years ago, and I started to recognize the patterns and some of the learnings, and the culture in my family was the people in our family that did the right things, that didn't mess up, that had good jobs, came and saw your grandmother, went to the right church, right? The people in the family that did all the right things got
mm,
all of the praise, right? We got all the
okay.
praise, we got all the rewards, we were viewed, it seemed like to a child that we were loved more,
Mm,
right? It seemed like the ones that did all the right things were loved more. So I just kept doing that. My whole life is I just kept performing regardless of what was going on the inside,
mm,
regardless of what was going on at home. And that was also a pattern that I learned in my core family, which was World War III, dysfunction, alcoholism, abuse, abortion, sexual impurity, all of the horrible sin that is going on behind closed doors could all be covered up by all the performance. And nobody ever knew, even our church families, even
mm,
these church folks that were our good friends, they never knew what was really going on. And I think that's also when I developed this passion for the truth and
mm,
just being a seeker of truth. And whatever that is, however ugly it is, however beautiful it is, I just want to know the truth, and I want women to operate and feel comfortable. You know, that is my passion and my mission now is that women would that I want to create a space for women to be truthful with one another
mm.
and take off all of this performance based Instagram highlight reel, right? Because I just think in my own life, if I would have known what other women were going through, and now that I'm at my age and I'm having these we were all going through the same
Right? And you felt like
stuff.
you were by yourself. Yes.
And the enemy wins when we stay quiet. because we all, that's his, I mean, he tries to isolate us
Mm.
and make us think that we're the only one in the world that's ever had an affair. We're the
Mm.
only one in the world that's ever had an abortion. We're the
Mm.
only one, like we're the only one that came from a screwed up family,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's just not true. But when you take all that mess that I grew up believing, and then you put me in this corporate environment, I thrived, right? Because I could just work my way to goodness.
Sure.
And then I really, I guess, 8 years ago is when I started on, I will say, the Lord. I guess 8 years ago is really when the Lord was like, okay, Robin, you want to get real? You want to
Mm.
know truth? We have a lot of work to do, friend.
Yeah.
And so 8 years ago, I started on this journey to wholeness, and it has radically changed. It's radically changed everything about my life. It's yeah. Anyway.
What a journey. Just so interesting. Yes, we can put ourselves in places where like I can just show up and put on the mask and be who you want me to be and get the accolades. And then silently, I love how you say it, you're successful on paper, but silently drowning in real life. So let's dive into a little bit more because I think a lot of women can probably relate to that, right? Maybe on Instagram, Facebook, to our church community, to our neighbors. It may look like we've got it all together and, everything is going great. And yet so often, right, it's because we're seeking to be successful in what we do, even while we're struggling in there. So maybe what are some of the signs, whether from your own experience or just as you, have watched and had this conversation with women, that what are signs that a woman is performing for her business or family rather than living from a place of peace and truth like you pulled out?
Yeah, it to me, the lens that I now put over, my decision making and my boundary setting is, do I really want to do this?
Mm.
Whatever it is, take the it, and it can be something like going to my daughter's house to watch my grandson. Like it could be, but do I really want to do this? Or am I doing it out of obligation or the performance, right?
Yes.
Should I? Am I doing it because I really want to? Or am I doing it out of obligation or the shoulds? I should want to do this, but do I really want to do it? And I found that when I just use that simple, because I make quick decisions too. And so if I just give myself a quick lens of, am I doing this because I think I should? Or do I really want to do this? It also then opens up you have to ask yourself hard questions, like, why wouldn't I really want to do this? Why? Yes. I'm being selfish, right? Or am I being selfish?
Sure. Get curious,
and the answer to that might be yes. Yeah. It might be that today I do need to be selfish. I'm tired, right? I don't want to go do a load of laundry, or, I don't want to go to my kid's house and take them some food or whatever. But anyway, that's my new lens. And I shared with my kids, especially my two older, adult children, that I am going to try. Your whole life, I've operated from a place of doing, always saying yes to you, always, whatever it was, I always, tried to do it. And I just need you to know, because this is going to be a big shift in my behavior. And I am going to try to do my best to only do the things that I really want to do. And here's why that is also so powerful, is because on the other side of doing things that you really don't want to do, you have an expectation of that other person. And when they don't meet that expectation, then you get mad or you get hurt or you get angry. And that's not fair. Sure. Because if you're operating from a place of, I really want to do this, how they respond and react to you shouldn't matter.
Yeah, I read a book a couple years ago called The Best Yes by Lisa TerKeurst, which is a great book if you haven't read it or audience hasn't read it. And the other thing I'm hearing too is, if I'm doing something because I feel like I should or I have to, or there's this expectation or obligation, I also think that's selfish to the, when I think about that other person, what version of me are they getting, right? They're probably getting someone who's more
Right.
resentful, who's maybe regretting
Yes.
the fact that I said yes, who's showing up half present because there are other things that I could or should be
Yeah.
doing. So it really doesn't serve them either. So I love the fact that you're having this conversation with your kids and saying, "Hey, here's what I'm looking to do because when I give you a yes, I want you to know this is a full on yes. Like this is something that I know that I am supposed to be doing." But the problem is so many of us have been so conditioned, like you said, to say yes all the time and to do things because
I
maybe
should.
of obligations
I
or expectations. So why do we do that? Is it bad advice that's out there? Is it just, something that's filling a need for us? Why do we
I
do this
think
thinking it's going to
probably,
make us yeah.
don't you think it's a little both,
Mm,
right? It's probably there was seasons. There was probably time when we had to, right? There was a season of time in your kid's life, and even in your marriage when you're learning, even in work, you could apply this. There's that season of I have to do certain things, right?
right.
Um, I have to work really hard at the
Mm,
beginning of a job. If I go to a new job, I have to really establish myself and I have to prove, build your brand, so to speak, in the corporate world is how that works. But then I don't have to operate the same way 5 years later that I was operating in year one because I've earned that respect. I've earned that place. Same thing with parenting, right? Like when your kids are little, you have to do all the things for them. And if you don't start giving them those responsibilities and letting them do things at the right time in their life, and you're still the one doing it, then you're operating the same way they were when they were 4, when they're 14, which
yeah.
is, definitely not a
And they'll
good
never get
thing.
off the payroll, which is the whole
Exactly.
the
You'll
whole
never get
goal.
off the. I know. I'm so happy. I have a girlfriend I work with, and she sent me a Slack message the other day, and she said, "Hey, can I have some time with you? I need to talk to you about how to get my 27-year-old off the payroll." And
Right.
I said, "Well, did you have that conversation with the 27-year-old when they were 14?" And she said, "No." And I said, "How about when they were 17?" She said,
Right.
"No." I said, "Well, good luck. Then good luck getting them off," because we started telling our kids at a very early age, here are the expectations. Like,
Sure.
this is what we will do, and here's what you will do. And this will be a mutually beneficial partnership.
Or you can go find your own place, right?
Or
Yeah.
you could,
There is
we
always
did.
an option.
Well, there were 3 options. We always told our kids, here are your 3 options. When you turn 18, you can join the military and move out. When you're 18, you can go to college and stay on our dime and make A's and B's, and we will support your college education. And you have 4 years to go to college and get a degree. And you can't be on the 8-year plan.
Right.
You have 4 years.
We're stretching this
And,
out.
and number 3 is you can move out tomorrow and you can get a job.
Sure. Yeah.
Those are the 3 options that we
Right.
offer you, and we hope that you'll pick any of the 3.
But what I love
Um,
is that like you're not obviously throwing them into that decision at 4, right? You're doing it when it's
no,
appropriate. And what I'm hearing is that we have to do the same things with ourselves, whether it's related to the work we do or to our family or to even how we're taking care of ourselves. Is like, okay, what is good stewardship right now? What is the wise thing? What are my options? How do I pay attention, like we said, to the seasons that we're in? And like you said as well, both in the work setting and the family setting, often what was needed or helpful in one season is not necessarily what's carrying over into the next one. And so we have to make sure that we pause and look at that.
adjust,
Yeah.
adjust,
Okay, here's
right?
a
And
struggle I want to kind of hear from you, what your thoughts are. So I speak
okay,
to Christian women business owners. Some of them
okay.
have, like nonprofits and ministries, but we run them like we're CEOs.
Yeah, well, they are a business. I mean, you're just,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
But a lot of times, especially it's one thing to like be a mom, right? And take care of all those things. But I think especially when you've got this other thing that you're doing, you're not just working for someone else. You've got this baby you're keeping alive, your business, your ministry. There can be this feel like you can't step away. This danger of marrying the business when we tie our identity too closely to the output, to all the things to the input first, right? All the things we think we should be doing, the boxes we have to check. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. What is the danger of marrying our work and tying our identity to our success?
And I have full transparency. I have married myself to my career. And now in this season of my book and launching my new business, I am marrying. That was my idea for how I was going to spend all this free time, was write a book and start a new business. I mean,
why not? Just fill it with more work.
crazy. But it's a passion. And
Sure.
so it doesn't feel like work. But yes, I do think that we as women marry our work. Even think about stay-at-home moms too. Like if you think about how married to their job of being a mom, you'll see the stay-at-home moms that go way, they invest everything in that career as well, right? And they're doing the same, putting all their identity in their kids,
and then how the kids leave, and you go, "Who am I? What do I even like anymore?"
And did I do enough? Am I making the homemade, organic, from scratch snacks, or am I picking up something at the grocery store on the way to the school party? Right? Stay-at-home moms can also bury their identity in their job of being a stay-at-home mom, right? And so I think that healthy boundaries is really, man, that's another concept that I wish I had learned. I don't even know what a boundary. I never even heard that term, until my 40s. But
we weren't ready for it. I wonder if it was out there and we just weren't listening or ready for it, or if it really wasn't.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we're just smart. I do think a lot.
We're more informed now. Yes.
You can find out anything you want to find out, right? In 2 seconds.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think boundaries, I think that's what it really all comes down to. And whether you're doing a wonderful, nonprofit mission work, or whether you're working a for-profit business, you have to feel good about who you are as God's daughter. That you have to feel good about who you are in that relationship, and then draw those healthy boundaries in your business, because it can go away. It can go away tomorrow, especially in corporate, man.
Yeah.
But it can go away too in nonprofits, or, I hate to
businesses
say it's kind of a
closing their doors
downer,
every day.
But 80% of small businesses fail. That's 80%. So if you are tying up, and by the way, while I've had a corporate career, I have started 8 companies on the side as hobby companies that were something to do with passion at the time. And guess what? They all failed. And I never crazy thing is, I never tied my worth to my failures, whether that was, I never tied even sin, right? Even my life, even the affairs that I've had, the abortion stuff that I talk about in my book, the career, the 8 failed businesses that I started on the side. My kids used to joke with me, "Oh, Mom, how many more businesses are you going to start and fail?" I'm like, well, you know what? I'll just keep doing it until I want to. I don't take failure personally. And I don't know if that is just God's grace, that he's protecting me. Maybe he knows I really couldn't handle it if I did take it personal. I don't know why but I do feel like it's a gift that I don't take failure personally. Maybe it's that I've had a career in sales, and guess what?
You get told no
You're
all
in
the time.
sales, you don't make 100% of the deals that you go after, right? And guess I don't take those personal either. Right. And I always feel like if you're operating from a place of authenticity, and you're operating from a place of, I'm okay, I don't need this job, I don't need this man, I don't need this kid to go to Ivy League school, whatever it is. I feel really secure now in who I am as a human, and as God's daughter, because he's healed me. And so because he has healed me, I feel whole. And it gives you so much freedom. That is the feeling I want women to be able to feel. Because I also heard, my whole life I heard about forgiveness. I never really heard about healing. And I didn't know that there was a difference I thought if I got forgiven, I would feel whole. Good.
Yeah.
But it isn't. There is forgiveness, and then there is healing. And even in the Bible, he talks about healing, and the scar will go away. Like it. So I think that if a woman is operating in a place where she's getting her value and her worth from something outside of the Lord, I think she really does need to examine where there might be a place of healing that's required.
Mm.
Um, because and the Lord will show you, if you ask him, he'll show you. But having operated for, almost 50 years the other direction, the other way, and then now operating from a place of wholeness, that's really the only thing I can point to that has radically changed my view on boundaries. I don't take my phone, I don't take my laptop on vacations. Nope. It'll, I don't take phone calls after 7 p.m. It'll keep going. Your
Sure.
business will keep going if you need to not work 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. It will. That's just, I know you might think it won't, but it will. And that's the wisdom, that also all these years, I never thought it was possible. It is. It's not only possible, it's probable.
Mm.
It's almost a
Yeah.
guarantee. The
Yeah.
world will keep spinning.
Exactly, right? Yeah, I love the fact that we even have to sleep. Like there's a time in our day where we literally have to shut it all off and
Exactly.
say, okay, God, like the world's going to be okay without me trying to keep it spinning for the next 7 to 9 hours or whatever that time
Exactly.
looks like. So,
Exactly.
yeah. All right, you've got a concept I want to kind of dive into a little bit that I really am intrigued by because around here we talk about time and how time is this underlying, thing to anything that we do, right? And so often what comes out of our mouth is, I didn't have time, if I had time, when I have time, when the kids grow up and leave the house, like, right? That conversation. So you have a concept called mouth, money, month. I love the 3 M's that helps women see where their time and their energy are actually going. So like, tell us a little bit about how that, works, what that's all about, how that might be something we can step into to really evaluate. Am I
Exactly.
really doing what I say that I want to be doing? Or, yeah,
Yeah. To me, so full transparency, of course, if it has 3 M's, it came from a preacher,
love
right?
it.
You know that I had to have heard that in a sermon, and I did. I don't even know when, but probably 20 years ago, I heard a pastor do a sermon about time. And I'll be honest with you, there were five, but I can't remember the other two. And so I was like, well, I remember that it was money, mouth, and month. And if you say your priorities are ABC, but you look at your money,
Mm.
you look at your mouth, what do you talk about all the time?
Yeah, yeah.
When you're at a party, a dinner party, when you're at the baseball field, what are you talking about? It'll tell you a lot about what your priorities are. And then look at your month, your calendar. Go look at your calendar and see where you're actually spending your time. If your 3 M's do not align to what you are saying are your priorities, then you're not walking the walk. You're not prioritizing the things that you're actually saying are important. And I will say, I do this, and this is something not to do, but I do it, and my husband will look at me. But my husband is a fisherman. He fishes with fisher like clubs. Fishers of Men is a national fishing club. Okay.
Huh,
It's great. Fishers of Men.
right.
It's a biblical male group. They're wonderful. I've met them. I see, these are godly men, and it is a great thing to do. And my husband spends if he's on the water during a tournament for one day, he's preparing 3 days before to get everything ready. And so what I will tell you, ladies, is don't do what I do and don't say to your husband, well, I think fishing is your number one priority right now because look at your month, look at your mouth, and look at where you're spending your money. So don't use it as a tool to hold up in your marriage. But it is a good tool for you to really self-examine. And I myself, I will say at the beginning of the year, right? We sit down, we write out our list of these are the things that we want to focus on this year. These are our family goals. Here's where we want to be. And then I look at, like, for example, I say we want to have weekly date nights and we want to have monthly weekend trips. And then once a quarter, we want to go on some weekend trip, right?
We must have heard the same pastor. I heard that in a sermon
Yeah.
once too. I remember writing it
Yeah.
down and saying, that is brilliant.
Guess what? Guess how many times I've actually done it?
Hmm.
None. None. We say it and we might take a family vacation. You know, I am a big family vacation person, quality time with my family at least once a year. I really am. My dad started that with me when I was a kid. So vacations are really important to me. Um, so we do always make time for that one family vacation a year. But I've said these are my priorities. And then when I look at my month and I look at my money, I haven't made the investment to do that and I haven't invested the time. And
Yeah.
so it's a good tool for you to look and just see if you're doing what you say you're going to do. You know, you're prioritizing what you say you're going to do. Am I really getting up every morning and spending my quiet time with the Lord? You know, that's what I wrote down I want to do. Am I really doing it?
Mhm.
So it's just a good tool to see align those three things with the things that you say are important.
I love that because you will make time for the people or things that matter most, right? You will find the money, right, for the people and things that matter. But just something that doesn't have as much value, it's not a priority. You might say, oh, I don't have time, or oh, I don't have the money for that. So I love this, kind of this heart check. If it really
It is.
matters, yeah, like if I told you, hey, if you could find an hour in your day, I'll give you, $1,000, you'd find an hour, right?
Exactly.
Because there was
Exactly.
value that was now attached to that. And so, yes, here's where I think you're so spot on. We have to look at what are we saying and what are we, I love that you said investing, right? The resources I have, my time and my money, and of course also, the gifts that God's given us. Am I investing it? Intentionally. And one of the things we talk around here is the difference between managing things and stewarding things, right? So if I'm managing money, I'm just trying to keep it from leaking out. I'm trying to keep from making bad, decisions. I'm trying to keep it from getting away from me, right? Same thing with time. I'm trying to keep it from getting away. But to steward someone's money means I'm going to think about how I can invest it on their behalf in order to bring an increase. And the
That's
same thing
right.
is true with time, right? And so here's where, when we are focusing on investing time and money in these priorities, like you're talking about, we're going to see growth in those things. It's not just going to be we're at the same place in that relationship or in our health or in our business or ministry or whatever that is. Yeah, it will
That's
be
so true. That's a
producing.
great way of looking at it too. And I actually, in my book, I talk about how my sons, which this is it's interesting to me that they grew up in the same home, but my sons, they only view my three sons at 19, 20, and 25 all have significant investment accounts
Mm,
because they are stewarding their finances in investment portfolios. My daughter, when I talk to her about her finances, it's the what did you say? The steward versus the
manager,
manage.
right?
So my daughter, she and I talk about we went thrifting, we saved money, we still spent money, but we saved money,
Right?
right? And it's I actually talk about it's fascinating to me how my boys have a completely different view of stewardship with their
Mhm,
finances. And
mhm.
my daughter's point of view and my point of view on my finance was always if I manage my dollar, then I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm
Sure.
managing my money. I'm budgeting well, right? I'm going to the thrift stores. I'm saving money. Then that is management in our mind.
Yes.
But in my son's minds and in my husband's mind, it was all about investment of those resources. And I don't know if it's a guy girl thing. I don't know why it's so different, but it is noticeably different. And it didn't hit me until I was writing my book. And I was thinking, and one of the chapters is about financial health because I think financial health is so important for women to understand and know. Um, and so when I was writing that piece of the book, my light bulb went off and I went, "Oh my word. My three
Mhm.
boys are all maxing out investment accounts."
Mm.
And my daughter is going to garage sales and thrifting and doing consignment and that's her view of
Being good with
managing her
money.
money well. But
Yeah.
my boys' view on managing their money is that how many are they maxing out every account they could be maxing out at this age so that they can be set up 20 years from now.
Because
It's
they know time
fascinating.
is on their side, right? And
Yes,
so
exactly.
here's where everything we talk about around here, we tie time to Rhodey. So Rhodey is return on time invested. And everybody knows ROI, right? Your boys who are
Right.
investing, they're probably looking at the ROI and making decisions around, do I keep this investment? Do I shift this somewhere else? Do I give it more time? Is this the time to pull it? Because they're thinking long term. They're thinking, legacy. They're thinking, where am I going to be
Taking care of
5,
their
10, 15
families.
years,
Yeah.
yes, from now versus what feels right in the moment. And yeah, so here's the difference then. And so I really, as I'm pulling all this together, connecting the dots in my head as we're talking, the mouth money month, right? When we are pausing to do that kind of audit, it will really help us pay attention to not only where is our money going, but where is our time going. Because I always say where you are in any area of your life is the consequence, good or bad, of how you've invested time or not up till now, which is actually really good news because that means if you want things to change, you're just going to shift how you invest that time or that money, right, moving forward. So,
I
yeah,
love that. Rhodey. I'm going to write, actually,
right?
I'm putting that on a sticky note and putting
Yeah.
it
Well,
on
it's one
my
of those things.
computer screen.
People look at their bank account all the time. I bet, you have some idea, right? Probably what your
Yeah.
balance is in whatever accounts are the most important ones right now. But really, are we really thinking about like our time accounts, and
Yeah.
what have I been spending my time on? And what kind of return is it bringing or not? And that doesn't mean
Yeah.
everything has to be, income
Right.
producing or revenue generating or checking a box. Sometimes
Is
the
it making me happy? Did I
right,
spend
yeah,
30 minutes today looking at
exactly.
my plants in my backyard? And let me tell you, that is a return on time invested right there
Yeah.
because it puts me in a good mood and makes me happy to go out and look at my garden and see, right? That is a good return on time. It might not look
Exactly.
like it from a the return is my joy, right?
Sure.
It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be
Right.
money or some
Because
other,
you're
but
valuing that, right? To somebody else
oh
who's
yeah.
looking over the fence, they may be like, why are you wasting your time, doing that? So here's where I think pulling all this together, we have to go back to what season we're in, what our
Mhm.
values and priorities are, where we're finding our identity, in the being over the doing, and really taking these gifts of time, money, talents that the Lord has given us and saying, how am I investing this with a goal of expanding the kingdom, which is such a beautiful place to be. So I love this. I love this conversation. And there's a lot we can talk about because especially as women who are running businesses, probably also running homes and doing things in our community and our churches and things like that, it's really easy to tie that identity to all of our doing. So before we wrap things up and hear about your book, I want you to speak to two women who might be listening today. One is the woman she's overwhelmed. She's exhausted. She's been doing for so long and she has been married to her work or her at least checking boxes. What would you say to her? And then what would you say to that person who's like, okay, I want to be more present to this season and what this is all about, regardless of kind of what, things have looked like up till now.
Yeah, I think to the woman, the first woman, golly, can I identify with her?
Mm,
And I would tell her that pause, hit pause. I cannot stress enough the importance of a pause. And again, something I don't think I ever did. I don't think for 20 years of the crazy, kids and war, I don't think I ever
mm.
hit pause and did that audit, like what you're talking about, the
Right.
audit of what am I actually doing? And I know that she thinks she can't. That's,
Sure.
I want to acknowledge, I know right now, as soon as I said those words, she immediately thought, I can't, but do it. Call your mom, call your mother in law, call your sister, call somebody and ask them to come take care of whatever, your kids. Go pause,
Mm,
go take some time and really do this audit, really map out what are your priorities. I love the Rhodey return on time invested. I mean, that's mind shifting right there. But get someone you trust to come take care of your kids for a weekend. If it can't be a weekend, make it 24 hours, 36 hours. Go take some time to be quiet. For me, I'd like to go to water, go to the lake, go somewhere that is where you feel peace, right? Where you can actually breathe for a minute and go look at your month, go look at your mouth, go look at your time, your money, and then what your priorities are, and then really do that audit and figure out what adjustments you need to make
yeah. Yeah.
and be intentional be intentional and decide what is going to be the mechanism that I use to keep myself accountable, to keep myself on this path. And like you said, you can find the time. It's just about aligning your time to those priorities that you say are important. And honestly, if it's not, this conversation is making me even think about my work, my corporate team. We're constantly in this do, and we need to pause. A pause is the power of the pause. I'm
Right.
sure I heard a
Yeah.
sermon about that sometime, but the power of the pause is it's so powerful. You've got to take that time, go pause, go do an audit, and then do an assessment, align your priorities back to those things. Then how are you what mechanism can you use to keep yourself on that path? Just 1 degree. You can just move 1 degree at a time and you'll be off track before you know it,
I
right?
love it. I recently heard somebody share they have a spiritual practice that once a month they get out of their zip code to reflect on what's going on in their zip code. And I was like, that's brilliant.
That's good.
Because
That's
sometimes you
good.
just need that, like, okay, I need to be not in it.
Yeah.
And like you said, even if that's for an hour, how can you get outside of your house, outside of your office, outside of something to be able to kind of take that pause and look back and see
Yes. And
where
maybe
is
do it
this
once a
happening?
month.
Hmm.
Maybe do it once a quarter. I mean, there's a reason why
Sure.
in the corporate world, you have monthly business reviews.
Right.
You have quarterly business reviews. You have semi-annual. There's a reason that companies do this. It's for
Mm.
this exact purpose. So we should be doing it ourselves, even in our small business or even our home. We need to be doing that. It's a good best practice.
Yeah.
And then to the other, what was the second woman?
Yeah, the other woman is that person who she's just they're entering a new season, or she's just realizing that maybe what I've been doing in the season isn't working. And maybe it's the same thing that she just pauses as I'm thinking about it, right? And kind of also thinks about this, but how does she step into the season that she's in and making sure that the money, and the month do line up.
Yeah, you know what? I can just tell you, I don't know that I have the answer for it because I'm trying to figure it out myself right now.
Yeah.
Um, because I got really good at all the other seasons. I got
Mm,
really good at managing all that. And here I am. And like I told you, I hate wasting time. I mean, time is the only resource you cannot make more of, right?
right.
I mean, and so when I waste time, it drives me crazy. And I haven't, because here's the deal too. I just was on a podcast a week ago and I said, you know, for women like me that have always I've known what I wanted to do, right or wrong. I've known what I've wanted to do my whole life.
Mm,
And now I find myself in this season and I don't know. I don't know what I want this season to look like. Um, I have a career. I could keep going in this career and corporate world and I could keep doing this until I'm 65 and and I could do that. I don't think that's what I want to do.
mm.
I don't think it is. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's not what I want to do, but I'm just saying,
Yeah,
I could. That could be
sure.
path one. My second path is I wrote the book. I'm trying to create a community. And what I don't know. God told me I had to write the book. He didn't tell me what I had to do after the book. And so my publisher is the one that made me think about what would you do with a business that comes out of the book. You don't just write a book and leave it, Robin. You have to start a business that goes along with the book. And I said, well, I don't know. God didn't tell me God just told me I had to write the book. And so I was obedient to writing the book. And so I'm finding myself where I'm like, God, what do you want?
Mm.
I I don't know what that looks like. And I'm okay not knowing. It doesn't feel comfortable, but I trust you, right? This does not feel comfortable to me at all. And I've only been in this season. My son just finished he's about to finish his first year of freshman in college, right?
Okay.
So it's not like I've been sitting in this season for a long time and I've
Sure.
spent the first year writing the book. So
Yeah, yeah. Well,
um
tell us a little bit about the book. What's it called? Who's it for? Where can we find it? What is it already out in the world?
it
All those
is.
things.
It is. It's girl by birth, woman by fire.
Mm.
And God gave me that title. My publisher and I went around for a month not agreeing on a title. And they finally said, if you don't come up with a working title, we are not going to keep working on this, because everything has to go back to the working title. And so we've got to have a working title. And the Lord woke me up at 3 o'clock in the morning and gave me this title, Girl by Birth, Woman by Fire. And it's out in the world. It's all the places you could ever want to buy a book. And yesterday it launched on Audible and Apple, whatever, anywhere that you listen to books. It launched yesterday. But God told me to write the book, and he told me I had to be 100% honest and transparent. I think he wants to get his girls' attention. And I think some of the topics that I talk about in the book, sexual abuse, abortion, affair, performance-based, everything, I just don't think those are, some of those sins are the unforgivables. These are not Sunday morning kind of sin, I'm not talking about gossip. I'm talking about big sin, but I just feel like he told me, Robin, I need you to do this. And so and you have to tell all of it. You can't hide any of it. And so that's what he told me to do. And so that's what I did. And what he does with this from here is on, it's up to him. I'll do whatever he tells me to do. But being in this season of having all this time and not knowing what to do with it is it's about to drive this type A businesswoman crazy.
Doer, right? And yet I think that's exactly where the Lord wants to put us doers sometimes, is in a place where we can't be doing, or we don't know what to be doing, and just trusting, and just, it's okay to be and not have to always do, and fill our time with something that feels productive. So yeah, I love that. I love that. Well, speaking of community and things going deeper, my audience knows that we take the conversation off the podcast into the Redeem Her Time community, where we continue the conversation. So I think that this is going to be a really fun, thing to kind of look at. Hey, what is your mouth saying? What is your month saying? What's your money saying? And where do you see alignment? Like, let's see the wins where we are doing that. And then maybe let's identify one thing that I'm saying this, but my money and my calendar don't show that, so that we can hold each other accountable to doing that. So I always invite my guests into the community. Of course, our audience is invited there. If you guys are not members yet, you it's linked in the show notes, redeemhertime.com/community. If you already are a member, just go to redeemhertime.com/member. Come in and join the conversation, because we don't just want to nod our heads saying, Robin, that was great. We want to actually let this shape our hearts, and then what we're doing, saying, and investing in. So yeah, I love this so much. So thank you so much for sharing. We'll be sure to link your book in there as well. So congratulations on that. And I always love ending with one of my favorite questions around, what is it time for? So this is coming out, mid-April-ish, so we're kind of in the season where, we're heading towards summer and things like that. So how would you answer that question? Now the book is written. What is it time for in this season of your life or business? And why do you want to see a good roadie on that, now that you know what roadie is?
I know I'm thinking the roadie is my new lens. I love to talk about lenses, because I think the lens that you're operating in is just so important. It can really be clear, or it can really screw you up, right? And so I'm thinking this new season for me, I'm going to put the lens of roadie on everything that I'm doing. And also this season for me really it's being still. It is being still and knowing that I know that the Lord is, when the Lord opens a door, when he sets a direction, you cannot stop it. You cannot stop it. And so this season for me is just waiting on him. And I don't mean, that doesn't mean lazy to me. It doesn't mean that I'm still not doing, but to me, it's doing only what I absolutely know that the Lord is directing me to do. And literally also the whole one day at a time. One day never in my life have I operated on the one day at a time, and I am now. I really am operating on today. That's all that I know that I have.
Well, tomorrow has enough trouble of its own, right? That's what we're told.
Right. That's right. And
look at today. Yeah.
How am I investing my time today?
Yeah.
What a beautiful thing, because when we are paying attention to what it's time for,
then we are making the most of that opportunity God has placed in front of us today instead of wasting it worrying about tomorrow or, regretting yesterday and what we should or shouldn't have done with it. So, well, thanks so much, Robin. I appreciate you and you just being open and vulnerable and honest and sharing your story, encouraging us along the way. So we will look forward to having more conversation in the future.
Thank you.